Hello, listeners, and welcome back to the Tradie Wife Life podcast. I'm doing something really different here today and stepping hugely outside my comfort zone. Hosting this podcast on my own is already a little nerve-wracking, and I've shared that vulnerability with you before. However, today I'm going to roll out a mini episode all on my own, something I've never done before. I did an intro episode on my own. However, I had a basic idea of what I wanted to talk about, so it was really quite easy. It's just an intro, and I guess I didn't feel the fear that I'm feeling around this one today. And the reason I tell you about the fear is I think it's really important to acknowledge that we all feel fear at times. Actually, I've just made a great big segue and I didn't even realize I was doing it. I feel very proud of myself. I hope when Warwick listens to this one, he's proud too. We are talking about fear today. I hadn't even realized that's, I guess, the real topic of what we're talking about. But we are talking about fear, and I think it's important to acknowledge that I also feel fear quite frequently. I've just gotten really good at doing the stuff that makes me feel fear regardless. So sometimes that might be creating a plan for how I'm going to push through that fear. Other times it might be getting comfortable with the fact it's going to be scary and ugly and messy until I do it, and I can always perfect it afterwards. Other times it's going back to my hype team. So I have an awesome hype team here at Tradies in Business. Not only do I have a brilliant business partner who is always encouraging me, I have a team within the business as well. And I also have a community that we've curated with Tradies in Business, our tradiepreneur clients. And every time I feel really uncomfortable, I reach out to them and they pat me on the back and G me up and get me ready to go. So I've pushed through my uncomfortableness today. There you go. I can't even get my words out, so that I can record this mini episode with you to answer a question that we had in the Tradie Wife Life group. So we have created a group over on Facebook. There are lots of groups on Facebook, and this one is a little different. We don't allow professionals into the group. And what I mean by that is I don't allow insurance brokers or lawyers or HR people into the group, because this is very much about just us as wives and partners, leaning on one another for support, asking questions, coming for a vent where we need to vent, and sharing all things that is Tradie Wife Life within that group. So if you are listening and you are a tradie wife or a tradie partner, I encourage you to head on over Facebook, go to the group's function and search for Tradie Wife Life. In there, we had a question a couple of weeks back, and it was very much based around fear. As I said, I don't know that I correctly remembered that until I started talking about it. So I've made a great segue. But the question came off the back of, I asked everyone what their fear was about the industry or about their position in the industry, or what they're doing with their tradie wife lives. And one of the questions or one of the fear points that was pointed out to me from Deb. Hello, Deb, if you're listening. Thank you. This was a fantastic opportunity for me to create a podcast for you. The fear was around not pleasing their customers' expectations and letting the team down. And she went on to say that she often says yes when it should be a no. And I think it's something that we all do, particularly when we're newer in the industry. And Deb is not new in the industry, but I do believe it is something that we all do, because we can be uncomfortable in the industry at times. It still feels foreign to me, even after, well, my entire life. Growing up with a pastor for a dad. But even now, working in it quite firmly, I still feel uncomfortable at times. So I tend to say yes, or get myself into a position where I feel obliged to say yes, even though the answer should be no. So I wanted to acknowledge that. But I really wanted to talk about the fear of pleasing people and meeting expectations, and how there is an opportunity for us as business owners and leaders to create the expectations for our clients and our teams. It's almost impossible to let somebody down if we have created, or as we say often, set their expectations. So what does that look like? Well, it looks very much like a sales process. Everything that we talk about here comes back to a process or a system, a structure that you can repeat, so that you have a consistent result. And setting expectations for your clients within your sales process is one of those opportunities you have to ensure that not only do you meet their expectations, but you supersede their expectations just about every single time. And that can come down to simple things like the quality of work. It can come down to their expectations around timeframes for the work to be completed, or how they're going to be invoiced, expectations around what the finished product might look like, how they can interact with the team that are on the ground every day. We can talk about what your process looks and feels like, so they understand what's coming before it actually happens. A great one that, as a builder's wife, I used to stumble over all of the time until we included this as part of our sales process, was what a builder's clean looks like. Everybody thinks it's sparkling and clean, like the cleaner that comes to your home, when in actual fact, it's not quite like that at all. Or the other question we had a lot was, why isn't my builder on site every single day? Why are there sometimes gaps in between when I see trades on site and when I don't? So all of those we were able to clear up, clarify, and set expectations for within our sales process. Now, let me explain what this looks like. Sales processes have a fantastic power for you as a business owner to, one, screen out clients that you might not want to work with or don't fit for you or might be trouble for you moving forward. Two, screen out clients that don't have the budget or the time frame that you can work to. And three, set the expectations so that you can deliver above and beyond every single time. Now, we do that by ensuring there are lots of point of contact so that we have the opportunity to really formulate that relationship with them before we even end up at site. We use things like screening tools. So we have the opportunity to ensure that they actually fit for us, that they have the right time frame, they have a realistic budget, not a champagne taste on a beer budget, that we can position them to ensure that the kind of work they're looking for fits with the kind of scope that we normally work to. So we use that as a screening tool, and then we go on to starting to educate the client. And this is what I wanted to talk about today, that opportunity to educate. It's also something that you can be including in your marketing if you have a blog on your website or as mini blogs within your social media channels. And this is how we set their expectations. We tell them what to expect. If we don't tell them what to expect, they make it up. They make assumptions, just like we do. We do the same thing with our partners. We do it with other parts of the industry that we are consumers in, and we do it in other forms where we are consumers. If we don't know, we make it up, or we make an assumption based on what we think we've seen before. What your clients have seen before are renovation shows on television where everything happens in 2 weeks. What they've seen before is glossy stuff on social media or within beautiful magazines. What they don't see is the hard yards, the hard work, and all of the other stuff we need to educate them on so that we are setting their expectations. So that looks like, very simply within a sales process, it could be a couple of educational emails. So clients are really poised to learn whilst they're waiting for you to do that first site visit for your proposal or quotation. And then after that site visit, while they're waiting for you to send through the proposal or go and present the proposal, they are never more keen to learn than they are in that point. And that's your opportunity to begin to educate them around what to expect. So for us, we had an email that would go out with commonly asked questions. Most of those questions were actually, they came from confrontations that we had with clients over the time. So where we had let them down before we started setting their expectations. So an email would go out with frequently asked questions. And then another email would go out about our process. So there is a lot of confusion in the industry because there are so many differences in the way we invoice, the way we move through the process, what our expectations of them are, what communication looks like, etc., who's going to be on site when, so on and so forth. We set all of that information out in an email around our process, so that this gave us an opportunity for our clients to understand how we work with them well and truly before we had even been to site. It meant that if we didn't fit for them, if that wasn't comfortable, it was going to produce a terrible outcome for us, of course, as well as them. But it meant that they could self-select out at that point rather than waiting all the way till we have taken a deposit and start working with them. Furthermore, we went on then into that opportunity in between site visit and presenting the proposal to talk to them about what to expect from our quote. So our quote had a very different feel than many in the marketplace. We had pictures that showed the kind of work we would be doing with them. We had testimonials from previous clients. We had the opportunity to talk about our experience levels all within the proposal. And we also did this in another educational email to give them an understanding of what that might look like and to set the expectation that we couldn't be compared against. So another time where we have the opportunity to prevent them, in this case, making up that they can compare our quote against somebody else's. So within this educational email, we would tell them what to expect. We would prepare them for what would happen next. So again, we're setting expectations. And so to answer your question, Deb, in a really simplified way, where we set the expectations, we can meet and exceed them. If we don't set them, we open the door for us to let people down. So for anybody listening today, if you've had an opportunity to let someone down, or you've had some feedback that something wasn't the way they thought it was going to be, or you've had some conflict at any stage during the job, this is your opportunity to understand moving forward. You can work towards setting those expectations so that you don't let them down. I hope that was helpful for all of you. As I said, it's just a quick, sharp, shiny mini episode this week. My suggestion to you off the back of this, if you're going to take some action, is to start with, what does your sales process look like right now? Do you just quite simply, or does your tradie quite simply answer the phone, promise to drop around that afternoon, do a quote, and then give a verbal even on site on the day? Or is there a more lengthy process? Regardless of what that looks like for you, I'd love you to jot down what that looks like as a starting point. And then if you wanted to reach out to us here at the Tradie Wife Life podcast or via our group, we definitely have some training available to help you understand what a robust sales process might look like, so that you can start to add in some educational emails, pardon me, some extra touch points to nurture your client as they travel through that process, and help set their expectations so that you don't need to sit in that space of fear worrying about whether we're going to meet their expectations or not. We set them and we exceed them. So thanks for the question, Deb. Hope you've all enjoyed.